Hi there, Andre here from PSD Box. Welcome to a new Photoshop video. I'm going to show you how I made this manipulation in Photoshop. It's not going to be a very detailed tutorial, but I'm going to show you, a quick explanation and some of the basic steps that I took to create this. I made this, I think, a couple of years ago. The PSD file is available for premium members on members.psdbox.com, and in this video I'm going to show how I made this, and I'm going to give you the links to the to the images that I used to this. Many of them are free, so let's see how I made this. Here you can see the layers that I have. As I said, the PSD file is available for premium members, and here I'm gonna go through the most important steps, not through all of them. So the first thing I'm gonna do is copy this, and I'm gonna copy merged because I want to keep the file canvas size, and I'm gonna click create, but you can use any size you want. So I started with the background. For this manipulation, the background is not really that important because it's not going to be very visible. As you can see here, it's pretty much not visible at all. And I'm gonna use this image. I got it from unsplash.com, but just get any image that's pretty flat, well, a field or something like that. And I'm gonna make it a bit smaller. The sky in this case has to be not very cloudy, and well, something like that with not much texture on it. I'm gonna place it right over there. And for the sky, you can use another image to overlay another sky on top of it. I use this one, but the original one is okay. So if you don't want to use another sky, you can leave that one. Something like that. I'm gonna merge both images, and the sky will be blurred, so we're gonna do that after we add the rest of the elements. And this second element, the most important one, is our model here, our boy here. Let's find the layer. This is the layer. It's a smart object. This was the original image. I'm going to give you the link to it. It's from deviantart.com. If the image is no longer available, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm gonna give you the extracted version. I used the pen tool to get that, and you can see around the hair I cropped it really badly, but that's because manually I drew the hair again. So I'm gonna move the layer onto my new canvas right over here and place it right there, like that. Now here on the bottom we need something for this man to stand on, so I used some rocks, and I used these ones. These images are from DeviantArt, and you can use other images if you want. I just liked these rocks, so I'm gonna put one of them there and then open another image. I think these are pre-made images. On my website I have a post all about stock images and great sites where you can find free stock images. And in order to blend these images, I used gradient and a layer mask, and the same for this one. Create a layer mask and just get rid of that, and then with the brush on this one, just remove parts of the image that you don't need. One thing I want to do is group the background, and I'm gonna name this BG, and I'm gonna blur the sky. So on this new layer, this one, I'm gonna go to filter, blur, and choose Gaussian blur. Now with the background layer created, we have the base of this manipulation, so I'm gonna start creating some colors. I want that bluish tone, so what I did is I started using adjustment layers for that. I'm gonna close this, and I'm using Photoshop CC, but if you have Photoshop CS6 you can do this as well. I use the color lookup, and I use the moonlight. Preset. It comes with Photoshop, so you can use it. and I set this to 68% just to get this dark tone, this dark blue tone. And then I use the curves adjustment, and I just wanted to add a bit of green to this, and just raise this curve a bit there and there, just to add a touch of green to the image. And you can use this to change the contrast of the image if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. Probably raise the lights a bit like that. Next, between the adjustment layers and the background group, I'm gonna add a texture with some fine dust particles. I'm gonna crop this and paste it right here under. Maybe we'll have to put it on top, we'll see. I'm gonna desaturate this with Control Shift and U, or just go to Image, Adjustments, and choose Desaturate. And I'm gonna leave this background to Overlay. You can see, because it's gray, some parts of the image will kind of go away. And now with the layer mask, I'm gonna fade the effect with the linear mask, just like that, to get rid of the bottom part. And what else? Here, let's add a hue saturation adjustment and probably increase the saturation a bit on the background. So let's create the shadow for our man here. I'm gonna get a new layer and I'm gonna name it SH for shadow. And with the brush and with an opacity of 20 and float 30 or something like that, I'm gonna start drawing some shadows here. Creating some dark shadows here on, especially here on the hair, will help us mask that part, well, hide the part of the hair that is not well cropped. Obviously, you would do it more carefully than I'm doing it here. I'm just gonna show you the basic things that I did to this. Next, I'm gonna add a light behind the man. So on top of this, well, actually under the shadows layer, I'm gonna name this light. And you can do this in a number of ways. Probably the easiest one is using the brush tool. And let's say maybe screen would work. And let's try a color like this. I just want to add a glow of light behind the man. Yeah, something like that, but with a softer brush. And I'm probably trying the color dodge blend mode could work, but something a bit darker. Something like that, but just a bit darker still. Okay, something like that. We will still add more light there after we're done. I also added some blood here on the rocks, as you can see here when I zoom in. See that there? You can use stock images. I had some stock images from DeviantArt with white background, so I changed the blend mode to multiply, and that's it. That's how I got the blood there. But I'm not gonna add it on this one. What I will add is the heart here. I extracted this from the background and just make it fit on the man's hand. So just place it there and make it fit. And with the layer mask, you can make it look like he's actually holding this. Also, you can see that his arm, well, his hand here is out of focus. So what you can do is make it look more realistic by blurring the heart a bit. So I'm gonna go to blur, Gaussian blur, and let's say 3 pixels of blur. You can also make the heart a bit red, using a bit more red, using a hue saturation clips to this, colorize, and just give it a reddish tint. And with the layer mask, remove the effect from this from the parts of the image where you don't need this effect. In this case, these nails here. Great, let's move on and create this inner part of the image. You can see I created some fire effects there, and I'm gonna grab the same images. What I did is I used the pen tool. I created a new layer under the heart. In this case, let's create it there. I created a selection. Make sure I have this to shape. So I created a shape like this to cover this part over here, and I added some inner shadow to it. Inner shadow, make sure we have this on multiply, something really dark like that. And then I used a stock image of a clock. It's this one. So I'm gonna grab this and move it straight to my document here. I'm gonna place it there, and I'm gonna delete this layer mask. So what you can do is use the edges of the shape that you created, because I wanted this clock to make it look like it's inside this hole that I created here. So I'm gonna use the selection of this shape that I created and create a layer mask. Create that layer mask and fill it with black, but I have to invert it now. Okay, see that? And I added some effects just to make it look like it's being illuminated from behind. And then on this blue shape here, over that blue shape here, I added texture because it's not looking nice like this. So I use this rocks here, and I'm gonna paste that on top of my shape over here. You can see it's really big, and I'm gonna clip it so that it's only visible over that area over there, and reactivate that. And probably the inner shadow should be a bit stronger and darker. Okay, you can also use a color overlay if you want. Let's see, soft light maybe works better, just to create some texture there. And then I started to edit fire effects. I used several images of fire, and not all of them are here, but you can download loads of stock images of fire. Make sure they are on white on black background, sorry, and set the blend mode to screen, and just make them fit your image. In this case, I'm gonna put one there with an eraser, or with a layer mask. You can remove parts of the image that you don't need. You can also warp them. Let's see, this one looks nice. Let's open that and place it there. And obviously we have to make it smaller. We're gonna use this image more at the end because of this particles there, those embers of flying particles, these ones here. I like them, so I used this image for that as well. Okay, I'm doing it really quick here, but just to show you what I did. But you can add more stock images with more variation. I'm gonna set this to screen as well, make it smaller, and I'm not gonna add any more fire here because I wanna move on with other effects. Okay, also on the heart, let me show you, I added some flames, and I created, using the warp tool, some I created the shape of a heart. I don't know if it's really visible, but that's what I did. And as you can see, the fire that I placed there, just try to cover this painting here because it's not really looking that realistic. It's a good painting, but you can cover it with the fire, and that way it's not really that visible. And you can also add some fire on the heart if you want. I also retouched the skin, but in Photoshop CC 2017, I don't know why the mixer brush tool is not working the same. At least in my opinion. My technique was using the mixer brush tool. I'm going to show you. So here on the brush, click and hold and choose mixer brush, and I created a new layer. Make sure you have the sample all layers checked, And you also have to check this layer. It says clean brush after each stroke, and use low values here between, I don't know, 8 and 15 or something like that. And with the brush, you don't even need a graphics tablet. With the brush, just start painting like that, and you can see the skin starts to soften, and all you need to do is go on the same direction as the shadows and highlights. For example, here on the arm you can see we have this long shadow, so you should go along that and not do something like this, because it will smudge it. It works a bit like the smudge tool, this mixer brush tool, but in Photoshop CC 2017 it works a bit weird. It's kind of too strong, at least for my taste. Let me try with the graphics tablet. Yeah, it works pretty well. The first time I tried it, it worked really weird, too strong. Even with really low values there, it worked really weird. Here we should probably deactivate this flames until we're done working with the skin, because we have sample all layers on, and it will grab the fire effects as well, so we don't need that. So just smudge the skin like this. Do it carefully, especially on the face. Another option is to do this, and if you see it's not looking how you expected, simply decrease the opacity of this layer, and that's it. I'm gonna do it really quick. If you wanna get rid of this vein here of the shadow, instead of going along the shadows and highlights, just go perpendicular to those, and then that way you will make them look less visible. Something like, oh, their work really looks really weird here because we have these highlights there, so it's not looking that nice on all parts of the image. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna spend too much time with this. Probably here a bit. And one other thing you can do is blur this layer, this smudged layer, probably a surface blur. Let's go to blur and try surface blur. See how that looks with a smaller threshold, about 7, and with a smaller radius, so about 3. I don't like how that looks, so I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna reactivate the fire layers and probably decrease the opacity of this layer to, let's say, 65 or 70%. It's gonna soften the skin, so looks like we have to put the fire on top right there. Okay, now I also use the dodge and burn technique, but I'm not gonna spend too much time here. What you do is create a new layer. If you press the Alt key and click the new layer icon here on the layers panel, you will get this menu, and from here you can choose, if you choose the overlay or soft light, let's choose soft light, you will get the option to fill with soft light neutral color 50% gray. Click that and click OK, and you will see that you'll create a gray layer, and because it's on soft light, it's invisible. So what you do here is, here we have several options. You can use the brush tool with an opacity of and a flow of about, let's say, 10, and flow as well. Paint, for example, with black if you want to enhance shadows. So paint with black on that layer, and you can see what I do. I'm darkening areas that I want to darken, and with the X key you shift to white on the foreground color, and you can enhance highlights with that. Flow and opacity, it's too low. I'm gonna leave the opacity to 10 and the flow to about, let's say, 40. I'm doing this with the keyboard. If you press the numeric keypad, you can change the values here without doing it manually. Well, without having to use the sliders. So I'm painting with black to enhance some shadows here. 40 is too much. Let's leave it on 30. Pressing the shift and the 3 or for example 9, we'll change the flow here on top to 90. I'm gonna lower it back to 30 and keep painting here, and I'm gonna shift to white to enhance some highlights. I spent a few minutes here, maybe half an hour or something like that, doing this really carefully. I'm gonna show the original one just so you can see. This is my dodge and burn on the original layer. See, I went through all the details here on the skin and everything. I also added some tears. I want to show you the before and after this dodge and burn so you can see for yourself what it does. See the before and after, so without dodge and burn and with dodge and burn. I have a few tutorials about dodging and burning, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but just enhance some areas, especially here the lips, create this effect. See that? Okay, that being done, let's move on and add some light effects. On our model here, I use some layer styles. Let's see if it works now that I have all those layers on top. I used inner shadow and I set the blend mode to color dodge. This is actually not to create shadow, but to create light effects. And I use the bright tone like this. And the reason why I'm using inner shadow and not inner glow is because I can change the angle here. Okay, the size is too much. I'm gonna use a high distance value so you can see the effect a bit better. This is how it looks like. Now the problem that we have here is that we have the skin on the smudged layer that it's on top of this effect, and it's not, that's why it's not visible like here. I want this color. So what I can do is click the layer mask, control click the layer mask, and create a new layer here on top. I'm gonna create a solid color layer, and I'm gonna reduce the fill to 0. So all I need here is the shape of that. So that's why I reduced the fill to 0. And now because this is on top of everything, I can add layer styles to this. I can add the inner shadow again, change the color to color dodge. This is not how I made it on the original, but you can adapt to circumstances and find different techniques that give the result that you're looking for. So something like that. Color dodge, but the size is too much. Okay, that's what I want. I wanted this light effect here across his body. It's a bit too strong and the color is not right, but I'm not gonna investigate here the color that I want. And once you're done with this, here you can see the effect is not what I want. I also have to edit the hair a bit. But what I'm gonna do is get rid of this layer. I'm gonna right click on the effects layer and choose create layer. And this is what happens. It creates this this new layer with this effect here, and here with the layer mask I can get rid of that effect. Like that. And that's it. And now let's take care of the hair on this original layer mask of our man. And I'm gonna use a soft brush to get rid of that. You can paint manually the hair that is missing using a 1 pixel brush or something like that. This thing that you can see here is from the smudged layer. So retouching the skin should be done on top of this new layer, well, of this original layer, and clipped to it. That way you would not have these problems that I'm having here. I would have to delete that there. And also here on the effect, I would have to get rid of that with a... Now the next thing that I want to do is add those flying fire particles. If the effect that you see here is visible on other areas of the image, like for example here, you can use this layer mask that I created and just get rid of that. That's why I convert the layer style into a layer, because I can use a layer mask now and remove the effect from the areas that I want. You can also paint this manually if you want to do that. Let's open those far images. Basically, I'm gonna use this one only, and I'm gonna paste it on top of everything, and I'm gonna make it really big because I want these particles to separate a bit, and I'm gonna change the blend mode to screen. Still, we have too many flying ambers here, so what you can do is create a layer mask, and I'm gonna create a random brush now, and I'm gonna choose, for example, this one. I'm gonna activate scattering and also the spacing of it, and also the shape of the size of it, like that. And I'm just gonna paint with black to get rid of some of those flying ambers here, but with a bigger brush, like that. You can see they start to go away, and that's it. And next, just adjustments. I'm gonna use a color lookup and probably use the edgy amber, and I'm gonna use the soft light blend mode, or probably let's try color. This will give it a warmer tone. And I'm gonna create a new layer, and I will set it on screen, or actually color dodge, and just because I want to add some lighting effects there, let's add this to 25. And with the soft brush, I'm gonna paint with dark tones like this to add light effects, but make sure we deactivate the shape dynamics, something like that. Maybe some warmer tones here because we have the fire there, and this fire is supposed to illuminate our man there. And let's start with the adjustments. Let's add another color lookup, and I'm gonna use the teal orange plus contrast. It's on the first group. I like this adjustment a lot because it has this green and yellow tone, and I'm gonna drop the opacity to something like that. Next, a selective color. This is just to add here on the blacks. I want to add some yellow, some red, some blue, sorry, and some cyan on the shadows. And on the blacks, I'm gonna add just a bit more light, -3, and on the neutrals, something like that, and probably more cyan. You can also do this with curves, and add more light on the darks if you need that, and a split tone effect, and finally a solid color with the exclusion blend mode. I'm gonna use something like this. Maybe we have to change the color after we change the blend mode, but let's change this to exclusion, and you will get this tone. It's too strong, so I'm gonna darken it like that. And probably with the hue saturation, I would saturate some, well, this part of the image, probably blues. These are more cyans and greenish tones. And last but not least, I like to use the camera raw filter, but you don't have to do this. If you don't have Photoshop CC, you will not be able to use camera raw as a filter, because I like to use this because I can change the clarity, I can increase the vibrance if I want to, I can create this quick split tone effects, which is nice, and the balance more towards something warmer. From here I can change the hue on my colors. It's really nice. If you have Lightroom but you don't have camera raw as a filter, you can do this in Lightroom. It's exactly the same. You can add vignettes, We'll leave it there, and probably more feather, and I think I'll leave it like that. Let's okay, so that's how I created this manipulation. Really quick explanation and step by step, but I hope you can create something nice with this. On the video description you'll have the links to the images that I used for this, and on my website you will be able to download the PSD file if you need it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.